Adventure of Link. Again, it's still adventure, singular. We've discussed a lot of Zelda 2 ROM hacks. This time, let's check out a PC fan game. Game Maker is a fine engine, but I've never really played anything built in it that has truly wowed me until now. Okay, so at a first glance, not a big deal. It's a widescreen HD reinterpretation of The Adventure of Link. Cool. Oh, but it's so much more. Hoverbat outdid themselves. Tasteful changes. This sits high atop the Zelda 2 fan project pile alongside Winter Solstice and Amida's Curse. Amida's Curse? Those two being ROM hacks. From what I can tell, this is a standalone creation. A superb one at that. Visually striking, from familiar to unique, this is a real looker, with some scenes being gorgeous enough to exhibit on a wall. What's impressive is how nothing feels out of place. Brand new backgrounds, plenty of additional areas, parallax scrolling, all presented in widescreen. This is the Zelda 2 experience you never knew you wanted. O is for options, robust, anything and everything can be tweaked. Control inputs, color palette, randomizer, there's honestly too much to address. If you can think it, there's a big chance it's here. Swapping Link out for other sprites is an interesting feature. Amida's Curse represent, Battle of Olympus, yes please. Fiddling with the audio is another highlight. NES, Famicom Disk System, Zelda 1 orchestral arrangements. I love being able to tinker with all this stuff. Shuffling them is a weird experience, and experimenting in different map regions yields some surprising soundtrack results. Personally, I tend to stick with the old school basic bitch originals, but if you're a bit freakier, the world is your oyster. Beautiful. If it's not clear by now, I love this thing. From top to bottom, it's a remarkable achievement. I mean, I've played a lot of impressive homebrews, indie titles, and ROM hacks. This is polish. Excuse the endless filleting, but every single pixel is meticulously placed. It's perfect. Look at how foreground elements overlap Link's sprite. Most of the enemies are from the original, but all of the new ones, their designs, the added traps fit in with that Nintendo classic aesthetically. Mega Man blocks, the thing every game is missing. Hoverbat didn't overlook it, nor did they overlook the interiors of these wonderful wartime townhouses. Look at me from atop a table for the first time ever. It just went on the market and will sell fast, so get your offers in today. All of the villages have been reworked with accentuated geographical themes. Entering a torchlit home takes Link to a series of underground shortcuts where it's possible to fast travel between all towns on that particular continent. The fact that you can't access areas divided by water is such a clever little detail. There are more secrets than ever in and out of these settlements. Denizens speak clearly, mini-games, trickier puzzles, backdoor exits that lead to hidden regions. Zelda 2's world has never felt so fully fleshed out. Every land mass densely packed to obtain extra permanent health and magic containers, which leads to a lot more exploration. Starting out with 3 blocks of each instead of 4 allows for more escapades in the land of Hyrule, plus a sliver of challenge increase. I never knew how much I relied on that extra tick on the life bar. Still, this is an extremely playable, balanced experience. The shield spell was something I rarely, if ever, used in the NES original, but here I found it almost necessary at the beginning. It was possible for me, a savvy Adventure of Link enthusiast, to complete this remake in a couple of hours, but I dumped over a dozen into it because I was invested in the side quests, obsessed with hunting down every hidden item. There are these little Korok adjacent blobs strewn about, and I just had to capture them all. This is the first time in a Zelda game, official or otherwise, that I was compelled to do the busy work, mostly because their locations are logically distributed across the map. Sussing out how to gather them felt like a rewarding challenge, and there weren't a million of them. Just enough. These efforts will be compensated. Without spoiling anything, this homebrew has some tricks up its sleeve. A metric ton of memorable surprises concealed deep, encouraging a perceptive eye and multiple playthroughs. There's even a second quest, a fully developed one at that, where everything is rearranged, similar to the first NES title. If randomizers are your thing, that's an option too. So far, I've put over 20 hours into this thing, and I still don't think I've found everything. Like, how cool is that? More little details. Now, when a new magic is learned from Bouncy Longstash, it automatically casts on our protagonist to exhibit its effect. At times, the rooms housing these wizards have little puzzles or activities to put the new spell to use. Cycling through these buffs is as easy as ever, but it's still necessary to manually select them after they remain idle for a time, similar to how it's done in the base game. What's new is how they are now shown at the top with colors representing whether or not there's enough juice in the meter to use the perk on hand. Simple but brilliant. The experience tally indicates which of the 3 attributes is next: attack, magic, or health. Also very handy. Extra lives in the form of Link dolls are permanent, a feature many of the better fan games have included. The candle, that first item for many, it has been overhauled completely, so caves are dark before it is found in the first palace. Nothing new there, but each dimly lit interior has wall-mounted sconces attached to their walls. Holding the torch casts a small aura of light around Link, but interacting with these pillars illuminates the entire room. I stuck with the default that has this happen automatically when passing them, but it's also possible to tweak it so the player manually interacts with the mountings. Yeah, I know, you're downloading this right now, aren't you? Some of the quest items have been rearranged completely. The mirror, for instance, is located in the cemetery instead of a few doors over, which makes more sense. This lady just seemed like a lazy whiner, just like the water gal in the original, but now I get it. Who wants to go to a spooky specter death ground to retrieve a trinket? Recovering the statue is far more impactful, as it now gets placed on a pedestal in the center of town, reminding all of my legendary act as Lord and Savior in this world. Bow to me as video game enthusiasts bow to Nintendo. Suck at the teat of the almighty N. I am Link, rescuing your kidnapped infants from wooden dollar store enclosures, returning them for upgrades, fearlessly delivering your useless letters postage free. You will remember my adventure, fools. Check it out, I'm standing on your goddamn tables, idiots. Am I wrong, or does the projectile sword beam do more damage? Bon bon mirror.
Bon 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 bon.
This is tough to articulate, but I felt like I was leveling up further into the adventure, as in the experience points feel doled out in a more sensible way. In the original, I'm typically tapped out by the time I'm 70% through the game. Getting docked a hefty amount upon death is certainly a contributor, but I really didn't die all that often. What's nice is that perishing within a palace plops Link out at the entrance instead of Zelda's holy resting room, similar to how the final dungeon works in the base game. Speaking of the titular lady's nap nook, it's now a fully explorable area with secrets abound. The adventure of Link is still a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned, but these little additions and quality of life improvements are certainly appreciated. Navigating the overworld is easier than ever with unlockable shortcuts, items that make backtracking a cinch. It's more of a search action experience than ever, with a few pieces of gear repurposed from the first NES title. Crispy, cryptic, croissant, bingo, bango, beautiful bracelet. Callbacks, references, Easter eggs. I suppose all of those are the same thing. Fairies are helpful, but Link no longer has a spell that enables him to turn into one. Instead, a chicken or a cuckoo, cuckoo. These animations are adorable. Look at this little fella. There are just enough puzzles involving this transformation to make it a unique addition. Duck and walk, tuck and walk. This ain't no mallard floating over large chasms, attacking as possible. Check this peck. There are quite a few platforming challenges. Most, if not all, are entirely optional as they lead to secret items or areas, so casual players should be able to see the end credits without having to learn any fiddly physics tomfuckery. Basically, you get what you put into this thing. If your goal is to get through the adventure without deviating too much from the narrative path, you should be good to go. Warp points. So many islands, brand new battle arenas. I'm partial to these coastal ones or the autumn colors seen in a few others. I could pore over these visuals all day, but it would be redundant. This is a video, you can see it, take it all in. The big bads from the core game all make an appearance. Some have been tinkered with. Karok has been tweaked the most. What was once a relatively lame pushover of a puzzle battle has now been transformed into something a lot more intense. Thrilling. There's even a secret encounter that uses the environment in a clever way. Being able to reference a Super Metroid-style dungeon map is a terrific addition as it fills in the areas that have previously been visited. Two halves of a mysterious Zelda 1 pie can be given to specific townsfolk to reveal points of interest on the overworld. XP can now be used as cash for minigames or items, making it worthwhile to continue fighting late in the game. No longer did I feel beset by enemy encounters after a certain point. Now there's a reason to kill Ganon's minions and earn some of those experience bucks. Bait returns from the first first NES Zelda, cleverly, it lures monsters away from our hero as he travels between points on the overworld. Hoverbat carefully considered both early 8-bit games and gave them some thoughtful connective tissue. This is such a monumental achievement. It makes me want to see what this independent developer does in the future, similar to what Megami Games accomplished with Wallachia after working on their Castlevania fan projects. This comes with absolutely zero hyperbole. The amount of artistic talent on display here is masterful. Hoverbat, you should be proud of what you have delivered. At times, I just sit on a screen and drink in the beauty on display. Well done. Next time on this channel, another franchise that started off on the 8-bit Nintendo console, so stay tuned.
Well, excuse me, princess.